2018. Hi everyone, welcome to this channel. I'm so grateful for 2017 and I'm really looking forward to 2018. I thought we end this year really well with this exciting and encouragement and just from the word really. So we're looking at 1 Samuel. Actually, the key passages are 1 Samuel 20, 1 Samuel 21, 22, 23, and 24. Yes, it's a lot, but I'm not going to read all this. I'm just going to give sort of like a summary of it. But I really encourage you to go to this chapter and really study it and meditate on it. So the key to people that we're going to be talking about is actually David and Saul. Okay, so we knowing from Saul's background, we know Saul is a king, and we know that God declared that David was going to be king. Yeah, and David had this really good relationship with Jonathan, and it was really a relationship where there was this faithfulness, this love for each other. They even made a covenant with each other to really back with each other and to just, they just do life with each other. It's awesome. Yeah. And in chapter 20, we see that Jonathan actually says that, look, I'm going to go to Saul. I'm going to see how he feels and see whether he still has this sort of feeling of whatever towards you. And if he still had that feeling, I'll give you a sign and a clue, and then you know to run in your life. Yeah. So this is what happened. Saul wasn't very happy that David didn't appear twice, and he said he was going to kill him. So at this point, David runs away. In this chapter, I didn't see anywhere where David said, do you know what, God, what shall I do? He just runs. He runs for his life. And no doubt that we're in this situation, we probably will run as well. So we're just looking at the scriptures and just examining and looking through it. And so we then see that David runs away. So in chapter 21, David then goes to visit this person called Abimelech. And Abimelech is a priest, and he was quite afraid to see that David was there. He was like, what are you doing here? And just to summarize, David answered the priest and actually told the priest, you know what, we are looking for something to eat. We wanted some food. And Abimelech gave David food, bread, not just food, but holy manna and food. And also gave the people that were with David as well, David's men. And interestingly, there was someone in that household, a certain man of the servants of Saul was actually there on that day. And he was detained before the Lord. And his name was actually Dog, an Edomite, the chief priest of the Edmen that belonged to Saul. This is very important. Later on, you see why. And I guess David, after this period, David says he's going to escape. He escapes again in verse 10, 1 Samuel 21, verse 10. David arose and fled that day for fear of Saul and went to Achish, the king of Gath. So David ran away again. And then we notice that in chapter 22, David continues his run. He keeps running away, yeah, because he's afraid. And then we go to chapter 22, 1 Samuel 22, verse 6. When Saul heard that David was discovered and the men that were with him, and now Saul, having in his spear in his hand and his servants were standing about him, he was going to actually destroy everyone. He was so mad. So let's just move on to verse 9. Then answered Dog, the Edomite. Remember the man in chapter 20? He was there when David fled to Abimelech. He says, which was set over the servants of Saul, and said, I saw the son of Jesse coming to Nob to Abimelech, the son of Achi. And he inquired of the Lord for him, and gave him victuals, and gave him the sword of Goliath the Philistine. Then King Saul was like, this is it, Abimelech, I am destroying you. So he sends for him, and to cut the story short, he kills Abimelech and the whole the household of Abimelech. Why did he do it? Because David went to Abimelech. He escaped there. And one of the sons of Abimelech managed to run away. The son of Ibtu, named Abiathar. He escaped and fled. In verse 21 in 1 Samuel 22, Abiathar showed David that Saul had slain the Lord's priest. And then David then said something interesting unto Abiathar. I knew it that day when Doeg the Edomite was there that he would surely tell Saul, I have occasioned the death of all the persons of their father's house. We're learning two lessons from this story. David made two mistakes. The first thing he did was he was afraid and he ran away. And he never asked God what to do before going, which step to take. The second thing is he put Abimelech's household under this, in the sense that they all got killed because he was thinking about himself, getting something to eat and his own people. And he thought about himself more than the risks of them. Because he actually knew, he said he knew. He told the son that he actually knew that was going to happen. But he didn't say anything, and he didn't even tell them, okay, you people should go and stay somewhere else, or, I think it's going to come. He didn't say anything. He kept that to himself. But in chapter 23, there's something interesting about David. We know that David was a man after God's heart. At this point, David took the right step. And they told David that the Philistines fight against Keilah and they rob the threshing floors. Therefore David inquired of the Lord, saying, shall I go and smite these Philistines? And the Lord said unto David, go and smite the Philistines and save Keilah. So this time David decided to make the right choice and inquired God which step to take. And God said, go. And God went before him. Before that happened, David's men stood and said, are you kidding me? We were in Judah and we actually, this is my only interpretation, okay? We were in Judah, right? And we actually were afraid of our lives, yeah. And you're telling us to go to Keilah. Are you kidding me? That place where there's gates, walls, and it's close to Saul, right? And you're telling us to go there. And David was like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe I should just check again. So I went back to God and said, God, did he say I should go? God said, yes, go. I've got your backing. And God stood by David. Because David ended up, him and his men ended up slaughtering the whole of them and ended up coming back away with the cattle and all those things. And they actually were victorious because God said he was backing them because he inquired from God. And of course, this was the point. Saul was like, really? I have got you. You're close to me. There's walls, there's gates. I'm going to send all my hundreds and whatever of men, and we are getting you. But Jonathan was always faithful to David, and God was always faithful. God above all things. God told him to go there, so God was having his back. Cut the story short in this day. We see that David ended up in the position where Saul was trapped. Saul was trapped in David's hand. And actually, the men of David in 1 Samuel 24, verse 4, and the men of David said unto him, behold, the day of which the Lord said unto you, behold, I will deliver the enemy into the hand. Do what you want to do to him. But you know what? David just said, no, I'm not doing that. God forbid I should do this to him unto the master, the Lord's anointed. So David made the right choice. He chose to reward evil with good. He said, I'm not doing this thing. This is God's anointed. I'm not doing this. I'm not going to kill him and then become king. I know God has promised me to be king. I don't need to be evil to be in this position. And as a result of that, in verse 17, in verse 16, Saul then said, "Is this my son David?" Verse 17, he said to him, to David, "Thou art more righteous than I, that thou you rewarded me good, whereas I rewarded you with evil." So this is an opportunity for you, but haven't done that. And do you know what's interesting? Saul opens his mouth and blesses David with what God had promised David. "And now behold, I know well that thou," in verse 20, "thou shalt surely be king, and that the kingdom of Israel shall be established in their hand. So swear to me that you won't cut off my seed of me. You will destroy my name out of their house." And David swore. So the two things here: he made his mistake, he was afraid, he ran away, he didn't tell as he was supposed to say, but then he recovered by going to God and asking him what step to take, and God led him, and victory is his. So my prayer for you today, viewers, is that victory is yours as you take the step into 2018. I'm believing that you inquire from God to show you which path to go, where to go, which steps to take. And I'm praying that God will order your steps. He'll make your steps straight, your path straight, and He will go before you, and victory is surely yours. Forget what's behind. Forget the mistakes that you've made. Forget the steps that you took in fear. Forget the things that you didn't say. But this time, move ahead and press forward, because God has greater plans for you in 2018. Be blessed.